my background has been in sales and marketing, so I knew all of that. And I just had to now be a business owner. And there was so much more to owning a business, whether it is online or a brick and mortar,
Yeah.
that I didn't know. And so
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Behind the Scenes in Business. This series is all about the behind the scenes and the real, authentic stories of small business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs who are trying to make it in their business. We talk about all the things, and I'm so excited to have my guest, Vanessa and Miller, here today with me. She is a close friend and amazing business owner that I love working with and love collaborating with. And Vanessa is a marketing and business coach who uses mindset and nervous system healing practices to help clients quiet their mind and tap in to their inner wisdom for divine business guidance. Her signature framework has helped women entrepreneurs increase their sales, expand their time, and protect their energy from exhausting shoulds. I'm so excited to have you here today, Vanessa.
thank you for having me. Oh my God, that sounds exciting. Like the way you just described it all. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds like really sexy. I want that.
Oh, thank you. I just think I just want a platform for people to just talk about things that aren't as talked about in business, because everyone sees like the shiny like success stories and like what they think is overnight success. And I really just want to show business owners or big small business owners that there are struggles and like how you can deal with them. And that's why I'm excited for us to talk today, because your framework helps with a lot of things that business owners struggle with, which is stress and their mindset, because that is something that is hard for a lot of us to control. So before we jump into your framework, because I love your framework and Vanessa and I talk a lot, so I know her framework and I know what she does. But for people who don't know you, who are just tuning in, do you want to give us a quick story of like how you got into business and what led you to your business as it is now? Because I love that story.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I did everything freaking backwards. And so that is why I feel I'm the expert on how to do a business, how to get it from 0 to 60 and easy coasting. Because when I started my business, I was in network marketing and I opened up a nutrition club fitness studio. So it was a storefront where I was the person behind the bar, the person behind the workout classes, and I was freaking exhausted. We had like 5 a.m. classes, and it was really dang exhausting.
Yeah.
And my background has been in sales and marketing, so I knew all of that. And I just had to now be a business owner. And there was so much more to owning a business, whether it is online or a brick and mortar, that I didn't know. And so as I was building my business for customers to come in network marketing, I also had to get team members to come in and groom them. And so I'm getting the business results, or I'm coaching my team to get the business results. And I'm coaching my clients to lose the weight, to get healthy. And what I found was that no one wanted to follow the structure. No one wanted to follow the strategy. And so I was like, what is the deal? Like, why? And so that's when I shifted into more of the mindset. And I started to get certified for Neuro Linguistic programming, Nlp, and I learned so much more through that. And so because I still love the sales and marketing and the business structure, I didn't want to let go of that. Like I know that the strategy is so important, but then I started integrating the mindset so that people can actually get the results they want by shifting some of the ways that they perceive things. And so I like to call myself the mindset of business and marketing coach, because that's what I do. We overcome the mindset blocks that are keeping us from our greatness. And so my framework is going to integrate the mindset, marketing, and money. And so that's a long story, but that's how I did it. Like I started completely backwards, just like focus on the strategy and not realizing that mindset plays an important role in everything that we do, even our personal lives.
I don't even think that's backwards. I think that's how I feel like a lot of people start. They're like, I just want to do this one thing. And I see that all the time because I always say that I work with accidental entrepreneurs because like I have like a business background from the sense of I started my business knowing exactly what I wanted to do, but I have the ops background, which is like a core piece that I feel like a lot of people miss or like don't think about when they start their business. Like they're like, I just want to do this one thing that I'm really, really good at. And then they realize, like you said, there's the business aspect to it, like hiring, training the team members, like doing the admin, that's like the logistics of how to run a business, like the nitty gritty. But I feel like people just want to jump right in and they don't not always think it through. But that's a good thing because then they just learn as they go. So I don't think it's that backwards. I feel like that happens. But your framework, I think, is so unique, and you developed your own tools to help your clients with their mindset. Can you tell us a little bit more for anyone who's watching that doesn't know what NLP is or how that ties in? Do you want to like kind of cover that first to
Yeah.
explain it for anyone who maybe doesn't know?
Yeah, so there are different modalities that people use to help people with their mindset. And I chose neuro linguistic programming, which is NLP, because it's all about the way we process information in
Mm-hmm.
our reality. And so, right now, listening, there are going to be people that process information completely different. So, one person may pick up something, and the other person may pick up something completely different. And so,
Yeah.
that works both ways as an entrepreneur. It works in one sense that being mindful of your marketing, because your audience is going to pick it up in various ways, but then also be mindful of your own mindset of what you're projecting out into your marketing message. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we think we can fake it until we make it, but in reality, whatever's inside is always going to come out in some way.
Yep.
And in my program, the Quantime Leap, I have a section where we talk about body language. We talk about eye patterns. We talk about how to read the person to really understand if your message is landing. And so if you can read someone else can read you. There are things that we don't realize subconsciously that we automatically assume. It's almost like it's like a cultural thing. We assume that when someone's like this, it means that they're closed off, right? And
Yeah.
so there are other that our brains pick up on, and that is how we kind of interact, but it's not in our conscious awareness. And so the NLP part is it plays multiple roles in the structure that I use, because like I said, again, it's about managing your own state and then understanding someone else's state, and then using that in your sales and your marketing, and to really soothe your nervous system to give you that confidence and clarity when showing up for your business.
That's such a good point. And I was like, well, when you were saying that, I was like, oh, how have my last couple sales calls gone? And it has, like, I just started reflecting immediately on body language because, like, we're not aware sometimes of, I'm not for sure. And it was like, oh, when have I done this in the past couple months where I've maybe projected unintentionally in a sales call or in an interaction, which I think is a really good point that you bring up with for any business owner or for anybody in general going through, their career even as well, being focused on that. But what I love about your method is like the name of your program, Quantime Leap, and how you help people walk through what you call it, like time travel, right? It's like a mental time travel. Am I explaining
Yes.
it
So
right?
yeah, so it's called time techniques. It's
Okay.
the the actual like process of it all. I like to call it subconscious time travel. That's more the things I do with my one-on-one clients, is where we actually go back to their past and heal some of the things that are holding them back here. We do some of that with future, like we do the subconscious time travel in the future inside the Quantum Leap for setting goals, which is really cool because when your brain is on board and your emotions on board, you could feel it. Your body, it's called the endowment effect. Like your body just goes for it and your mind starts to believe that is yours. And so you start taking, oh baby, you start taking the actions needed to be able to reach that goal. So yeah, I use the subconscious time travel in my 101 and inside this program. It's fascinating because the subconscious mind doesn't understand or it doesn't know what is real, imagined, or remembered. And so when you
Yes.
understand that and you know how to use that for your benefit, you can achieve your goals in sometimes half the time or just more efficiently.
Yes, that is such a good point to bring up too, because of the subconscious. For anyone who's not as aware of like the conscious and the subconscious mind, because we make most of our decisions, or our subconscious mind, I forget the statistic, you might remember, but there's a statistic where our subconscious mind controls more than we realize in our thoughts and in our actions. And it's hard for some people to tap into that, especially if they've never practiced it. I've talked a lot on the channel too about just subconscious sabotage, like the habits that you do without realizing. Because I've been addressing a ton of those lately of you are getting close to success and your subconscious mind wants to sabotage it because of fear of the unknown and all that. But when you talk to and work with your clients, what would you say, like, I'm trying to word this question right in my head because I know how I want to ask it, but getting it out in words of how do when clients come to work with you, kind of what are some of the biggest struggles that they're having with their mindset or tapping into those subconscious thoughts? Or, what is kind of some of the stuff they're struggling with?
Well, what I found is that because the subconscious controls 95% of the brain activity, which is it's embedded during the ages 0 to 7, which is our imprinting period. So that's where our beliefs happen. And our beliefs are going to be what dictates our actions. And our actions is what's going to dictate our results. And so what I have found is that they don't have the awareness that there's a pain sometimes. They just know something's not right, but they don't even know like this is why, like they can't pinpoint it. Or sometimes they don't even realize how great something can be because they've lived so much with this pain that they're like, oh, I always thought that's how it should be. And so we had to raise their standards. We had to raise their standards of like self-care, standards of like what's possible for them. We just really have to elevate their I don't know, how do I say this? Like we have to elevate their awareness of like, hey, you're meant for more. Now, a lot of times, yes, people understand that. They're like on the outside, they're like, oh yeah, I know I'm meant for more. I'm gonna hustle and blah 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 blah. But hustling doesn't mean that you're gonna get there. In fact, what happens is it triggers the nervous system to get stressed out. So although you may not be thinking that you're stressed, your body is like, I am stressed out. You might think it's like excitement. And so I found that like they're just in this story of not knowing that they're available for more or thinking that they are doing the thing that they need to get more, but in actuality, it's counterproductive. So
Yeah, I was just doing a bunch of research for like the chapter that I was writing, and that you bring up such a good point of they're in hustle mode, and it's the same, like you're putting your body and your nervous system through the same survival mode. Like your body and your nervous system doesn't know the difference between like survival mode from your business versus like going through trauma. Like you're actually harming your body by putting it through like a prolonged stressful time if you're trying to hustle to get your goals. And I love that you bring up the mindset piece, because that's not something I'm good, not like I don't teach that as much. So I love when people talk about it in the different ways that you can help and tap into that subconscious mind, because that is so hard to control. But it's the mindset and the strategy that's going to make someone successful. And when you're in that hustle mode, you're constantly feeling stressed. Like, so when you start working with clients, or what are some things that you've seen that stress how it has negatively impacted people in their
Yeah.
business?
So there was a study done on children that were born in poverty that had
Okay.
less gray matter in their brain. And what the gray matter does, it is responsible for decision making. It's responsible for reasoning. And so when we have financial stress, we reduce that gray matter. So these kids
Mm,
that are already born in poverty, that they're technically quote unquote have this financial stress, even if it's brought onto them because of their parents hustling or their parents not knowing the resources that are available to them, the gray matter is less. So as entrepreneurs, if we are worried about making the next sale or we're worried about paying our bills, the gray matter in our brains is going to reduce and it's going
mhm.
to really kind of hold us back in reasoning, decision making, making the wise choices for our business. And so when you mentioned there about my business, how we soothe the nervous system so that you can channel divine business guidance, it is true because when you can quiet your mind and you can stop any kind of decrease in the gray matter, then you're able to make wiser decisions for your business. You're able
Yeah.
to really you stop and be like, wait a minute, do I really need this? Do I really need to buy this program? Or do I really need this system right now because my business is not ready for it? And so you start to make better choices. And it's not just like business choices either, but like maybe choosing a topic that you want to talk about and how it relates to your offers, which is one of the primary things that we do inside the Quantum Leap is that we channel this divine guidance of like, how am I going to talk to the offers that are going to help me meet my goals? And so, yeah, I mean, it has so many effects on the way you go about life.
And for anyone that doesn't follow Vanessa or is in her group or following her on social, her topics are always very spot on. And that's one thing I always love about you as a business owner as well is she is very thoughtful and meticulous when it comes to her decision making. That's one thing I admire about you is like, because you'll message me and say like, I'm thinking about working on this. When do you think like what pieces do I need to have in place? Or you're very thoughtful in your approach, which I think is so important because I'll talk to clients or potential clients and they're like, I need this done like yesterday. And I'm like, well, you didn't even consider this, and this that needs to happen before. Like you're very like methodical and calm when it comes to decision making, which I love. And it makes it so much easier to have like a quote unquote sales conversation. It's not always a stressful sales conversation. And it just makes for such a better experience for people. Just because Vanessa and I have done work together. So it's like I know her approach and it just shows in your own business what you teach people, which I think is so important. So if you don't follow Vanessa, definitely follow her. Her topics that she goes live about are amazing. They are impactful. And like you said, it's a strategy to your offers, but it's also very helpful to the audience and the people that you're connecting with. But sorry, not to go down to that rabbit hole. I went down like a whole different tangent about not the stress. But for stress, going back to that in the decision making, what are some simple tools that you would give to people that can help them get control of that subconscious? Because like when we're in fear or when our mindset is kind of that subconscious piece is taking control, like how do we regain that control?
Yeah. I would say I have a free meditation called Infinite Awareness. So I like to go and listen to meditations
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes people are like, I can't meditate. My mind goes everywhere.
Thank
Um,
you.
when you can use a guided meditation and then visualize where you want to be instead of or thinking about your to-do list, like you're
Yep.
still thinking about something, but you're thinking about something like towards like something that you want to go towards a positive versus like all the things that you have to do. And so for those people that say, I can't quiet my mind, well, if you can't, then let's just at least focus on something else, So
Yeah.
I would say meditations, visualizations. I really love those.
Yeah.
It's just, they go together. I love tapping. Oh my gosh, I love it because we in the program we do Monday morning tappings. It's like under 20 minutes. Emotional freedom technique is what the tapping is. And so it's like tapping on different parts of your body and points to soothe your nervous system. And
That's
really,
amazing.
I just
I've never done tapping, but I've seen it, and it's
oh my
like
gosh.
I know you're convincing me that I need to try it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Like this Monday we did tapping to release the fear of not making your 2022 goal. And so the way we do it, it's like we like get the fear out. It's kind of like extracting it. And then we start to embed new commands of like new beliefs of like, wait a minute, I can't. And you start to have this hope by the end of it. Like you're like, you have this faith of like, wait a minute, this is possible. And you have this motivation. You start to build momentum. And that's why we do them on Mondays, is to build momentum for the week. So I love
Right.
tapping. um, I love to journaling because I have a defined head and ajna in human design. And so sometimes I just need to get things out on paper and realize like, I can reframe this. This is not what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line is to everything in your business, the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your clients is to ask the right questions, whether it's that the right questions for your sales calls or the right questions for yourself of like, why am I feeling this way? How can I see things
Yeah.
different? So that's a long
Yeah.
answer, but
No, that's a good, but like a helpful long answer, because that really gives them concrete things to do and different ways to try. Because, like you said, some people maybe don't know about them or have never tried them. Because I'm super bad at journaling, even though everyone talks about it. But I will be able to, like, I box myself little notes just because it's easier for me. Obviously, I always have my hands full right now. So it's easier for me to one-handed box and then listen back to it almost, because sometimes when we think things, it's one thing, but like you said, when you write it down or you say it out loud, you start to realize like, oh, that's, how can we reframe it? Or I'll read it or hear it and I'm like, that's not true. That's kind of not silly. Like I'm not trying to talk down about it, but I'm like, that's not real. Like we don't have to, that thought can go away kind of thing. So I think those are really good and effective tools. I'm really excited because I'm going to try an EFT now, because I've seen it but never done it. So I really like how you put the intentions behind it as well.
yeah.
And there's a lot that people just aren't aware of. I think that's what it comes down to. Thanks,
The
Lila.
possibilities are endless.
Right, right. That's something that you have talked about before, and just like opening your mindset to the awareness of what's possible, because I think so many people close themselves down to possibilities. So I think it's important to what you said about awareness and being self-aware and just being aware of those possibilities. um I don't know where my question was going with that. I just really like that piece that you said about it. And for anyone who maybe is like, this is a little woo, or, maybe is still doubting how important their mindset is, what would you kind of like say to that, or give them like maybe a concrete example or something that you could say to that? Because there's some people who are like really off put by some of these techniques, which I just don't, if it's just a simple technique of writing or breathing or meditating, why not try it if it's going to change your life?
Yeah, for sure. And it's really, to me, when I think about the way the brain works, I don't see that as woo. I see it's more like science.
Yeah.
And so people are gonna believe what they want to believe. And in NLP, there's this thing called that you have to, or there's a saying that you have to respect other people's model of the world. And so meaning like if someone is set in their ways, trying to pull them into my model of the world so they can see things my way, it's just really not ecological. And so I wouldn't really try to say anything to persuade someone to see things my way. I would just, let them do them. And eventually, if they want to find a way to empower themselves and live their best life, then they're gonna find those resources then. It's kind of like what do they say when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. It's kind of like that. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say find your journey and whatever makes you feel good, just focus on that. It's feeling good.
I think that's a great analogy of when you're ready for the help, it will come to you when
Yeah.
that it's the right time. Timing has been a big conversation, I feel like, this week. It's all about the right time and not rushing your time, like your own timeline. Like, I think as entrepreneurs, one, know when you're early on your entrepreneurial journey, I feel like no one thinks about the mindset, and then you slowly like develop your like awareness to it and how it is affecting you, but then you're starting to release that I have to be on this set timeline.
Yeah.
You know, like it's good to have goals and it's good to have timelines to keep you on track, but there's no reason to add to the pressure, like add that pressure to yourself as a business owner.
No, for sure. It just really just slows you down. Sure.
Yeah. And if you're assessing like, oh, it's going to take me this long, like, because you were talking about earlier, speeding up those times, like how, when you're aware and you're asking for those goals and you're meditating, how does that kind of maybe help speed up those goals? I don't know. We kind of touched upon that a little bit earlier, but
Yeah. So like yesterday, so I have this thing called the balanced work week framework. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about when my day was. Okay, so anyways, so the balanced work week framework that I teach inside my program is about setting up 3 different categories of your business or of your schedule. So it consists of a goddess day, a CEO day, and then a couple of doer days.
right.
And so to speed time up, what I've done is that I use these days to set boundaries, to prioritize. And so when you can slow down and be like, okay, is this really helpful for me? Or is it just a distraction to keep me small because I have fear of showing up? Or am I procrastinating because I'm afraid of rejection? And so what ends up happening is that you start cutting out the fat. And when you cut out the fat, you leave more time for the things that are a priority. And you're like, whoa, you get so much more done. So what I was thinking this week, what happened was that I have this thing called the content tree that's inside, again, it's inside the Quantum Leap. And it's called the content tree. And what it is that it helps you focus, be laser focused on the things that you want to say or the things to say to sell your offers, right? And so on Tuesday, that was my doer day. We have a co-working session, and that's my doer day. And I was able to fill out my content tree. And by the end of it, I think it was like 70 different engagement posts that are relevant to my business, scheduled everything. And then I also had 180 topics for either daily or weekly so that I could just pick them out. And I put them in the ClickUp thing, that, like the stuff that you've done for me. So I have it in one ClickUp, and then I'm going to move it over to another ClickUp when I'm going to fill it out. But basically is
you can automate that, just so you know.
Yeah. And I learned how to do it. I was like, I was going to message you, but I was like, oh, I figured it out. I was like, yes. So anyway, so like basically like what does that do for me? Well, what it does is that I already have everything set up for the whole year. Or if I did it like one topic per week, 180 weeks is like how many, that's already what, almost 5 years or something, like 4 years, right?
Because you can also reuse content after like 3 months because everyone forgets about it, or like they need to hear it 7 times. You're really good at that. You always, I'm amazed at like how well and how quickly you batch and create content. Like,
and that's because of the process. Yeah. And I was like, this was not available to me, or I don't know, this was not an option, I guess, because before what I was doing was I was like doing this and doing that and doing that. My brain was everywhere. Yeah. And so I started saying, okay, this is not working. I audited my business. And I was like, hey, this is not congruent to where I want to be. And so what happened was that I was able to, again, like I said, I was able to create all of this content, or like the structure for my business, so I can be able to make that content. Because then what happened was that I made sure I had a goddess day, and my goddess day is me relaxing. Earlier this week, I got a massage, facial, manicure. I did all the things for myself. But this is why this is important, because when I do that, I'm living life, and life is inspiring me. And then take that and I see how I can apply it to my business, and it becomes a marketing message. It becomes a metaphor. And that's when people like storytelling metaphors, that's when people are like, it makes sense. And then that's when they're like, let me buy what you have. Oh, I can relate to that. Or I want that. And so I know that was a lot, but like that's essentially like how you speed up time. Is because you're intentional and you allow the inspiration from life to inspire your marketing in others.
Right. And I love how you brought up you're living your life the way you want to live it, because we talked about the hustle and the like stress, and when you're in that mode, it's not serving anybody. And I see so many entrepreneurs, small business owners, agency owners, firm owners, however you classify yourself, as just like, oh, if I just keep going and I keep burning the midnight oil and I keep doing this, like it'll be better, it'll get better. Like, but that doesn't happen. Like it's not accurate, because I remember that feeling like 2-3 years ago. I was like, no, like 2 years ago, because my business is almost 3. I was like, oh, if I just keep burning the midnight oil and I keep doing this. And it wasn't until like you slow down that and live your life in a balance, like, because there's always going to be some next goal. There's always going to be some next milestone that you want to hit, and you're never going to slow down unless you force yourself to slow down and enjoy your life. Because like, I saw this video the other day. It was like this older entrepreneur was talking to a younger entrepreneur, and he was like, oh, I'm retiring. Like, I finally have all this free time, but like, he can't really enjoy it because he worked all his younger years away. And I'm like, I don't get why everyone's like wants to hustle till like, because if you don't build the habit when you're doing it, it's never going to stop, like you said. And you take away so much more when you take care of yourself and slow down.
Yeah. And I see it like this. It's like you're speeding down the freeway and you're going so fast that you miss your exit. So either you miss that destination or you have to go down to the next exit, take more time and energy to make a U-turn. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And if we would just down and like be aware of the things, then we could be able to get where we want to more efficiently. But no, like, and I also think that where that comes from is in the past that it was looked down upon. Like if you weren't hustling, then you didn't want it bad enough. Like you didn't have the passion. And so like the hustle mode is like hopefully becoming extinct, and people are going to be really admired for the slowing down, for taking care of themselves. Because I remember I used to admire the hustle mode, and I'm like, it doesn't feel good, but I have to do this because this is what everyone's doing. But now it's like, wait a minute, that is just like, it's aging us. It's like, making our health bad. So let's just stop that.
I remember like the big trend when I was starting my business was the live launches and the big complicated funnels, and the like I had a coach like would say you have to do a live launch. I was like, I don't want to. Like, I was like, I don't want to do a live launch. It doesn't make sense for my business. I'm not a coach. I'm a VA. At the time I was a VA, and I was like, I can't take on 50 bajillion clients. It's just me right now. Like, I was so early, and I was like, a launch felt icky. Like, what am I going to talk about on a launch as a VA? But I'm like, and then I realized there's different strategies that work, and it doesn't have to be so complicated. And I love that how you put that in. I hope it's becoming extinct. Like, I hope enough people are becoming aware of you don't have to grind it out to
and
get to 6
I think
figures.
that people always want like the answer. They're like, well, what is the strategy? And I put this in my marketing post about the quantum leap. I'm like, I will give you some ideas of strategy, but I'm not going to tell you that this is the only strategy. What's going to happen inside this program is that you're going to channel your higher mind that's going to tell you what is best for you, for your body, for your family, for your audience, for the world. Where I am not going to shove something down your throat and say, this is the only way for you to do it, because no, there's a specific way for you to do it, that your life purpose is in that, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so if you don't want to do the live, don't do the live. If you want to do this, whatever. And so I think it's kind of funny because like we're like, but we need the answer. We need the answer. But when we can trust ourselves to find the answers within instead of from someone else, then that's when we can truly thrive and have a business we love.
Yes. I also that is so close to my framework, but in the sense of I do it for operations. Like I will never shove someone's, like, I'll never say this is the only way. And people seem to hate that answer when I give it to them. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, we could do it this way, or we can do it this way. Like there's so many ways to, there's more than one way to solve the problem. Well, I forget the analogy that it escapes me right now because Lila's jumping around. But there's multiple ways. It's just really dependent on you, your vision, and what you're comfortable with. Because obviously budget is a huge thing when it comes to systems and tech and software and like what people want to do. And I'm always a proponent of, you know, tech is easier to manage than people, but it's all about building the business that's going to serve you so you can live your life to enjoy it. Like you said, like you want to have something to enjoy.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. That I think we covered a lot of different things. Is there anything else that you would like to share that, or like a summary point that you want to make sure everyone who's watching takes away, or something we maybe didn't cover that you're like, oh, I really feel compelled to share?
Oh gosh, I feel like we talked
I know.
So I don't think there's anything, but if you want to come hang out with me inside my Facebook group, come hang out with me there. It's called The Aligned Businesswoman. I have a podcast. I would say, I don't know, allow your heart and your head to align and lead you.
I love that. And we will also be linking your meditation in the show notes, her group, because her group is awesome. I definitely recommend, not that I'm biased or anything, to go hang out in Vanessa's group because it is great tips and strategy and just mindset, all wrapped into one. So thank you so much for joining us today, Vanessa, and giving us some behind the scenes in your business and how you help people.
All right. Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you.